Tech Talk with Matthew Dickerson. Matthew Dickerson. Tech Talk. Sit back and relax. It's time to talk technology.
Hello, streamers, gamers, and doom scrollers. It's time to put down your devices and give your thumbs a bit of a rest, but not before cranking up the volume for another episode of Tech Talk with Matthew Dickerson. Now, in today's episode, we'll find out what's going on with these rogue delivery drones, vandalising bus shelters and such. You might have seen it on social media or on the news or something. We'll look into just how much of a problem deepfakes are and what it's going to mean for proving your own identity in the future. And forget your joysticks and control pads. Remote controlling robots now happen with a mere wristband. You'll be operating your personal Terminators before you know it with waving and gestures alone. But enough with the delay. I've Matthew Dickerson sitting across from me, chafing at the bit to get into our stories today. So welcome to the microphone, Matt.
Thank you. Can hardly wait to get into the stories today. But before we get into the stories today, I just want to make mention of someone, an acquaintance of both of ours, that unfortunately passed away recently, someone who was very fit. And that stirred me into some action. So obviously out of something very bad happening, a terrible tragedy happening, sometimes some other good might come of it. So I went along during the week and had a calcium scanner, a heart calcium scan. And I kind of consider myself to be reasonably active and eat reasonably healthy, although chocolate Easter is always a bad time of year for me.
Matt, you're the picture of good health.
So I went along to have a calcium scan, which is about a 3-minute procedure. So it's not something that I should have done. I should be doing it every year, actually.
Yeah, right.
And the idea here
it's
is
not that hard.
It's not that hard. It's not. You're not having anything injected into you. There's not a loud, noisy machine. It was
nothing for the conspiracy theorists at all?
Oh, well, probably a bit there. If you
right. Okay. If you want to dig.
That's
yeah,
right.
okay.
If you want to dig, you can
Do
find.
they put any microchips in you?
Oh, I assume so. I hope so.
Bill
Yeah.
Gates knows exactly what we're doing right
That's
now.
right. He can
Hi,
listen.
Bill.
He can listen to every conversation, which I reckon Bill's got some interesting things to do in his life. And I'm not sure that he wants to listen to you and I chat away about my heart calcium scan. But a calcium scan basically has a look at your heart and says, do you have some deposits there that maybe you should be careful of, aware of? Just make sure you keep an eye on those. There might be some drugs you might use. You might try and reduce your cholesterol, all sorts of things. Anyway, good idea. Should have done one years ago. So the interesting part now is that you get a scan like that. Back in the old days, say an X-ray, for example, you'd get the film. You'd get the physical film.
Yeah.
And you'd take that to the doctor, or you weren't allowed to look at it because you were a mere amateur. They would send it to the doctor on your behalf. Then you have to go back to the doctor. And there's a conspiracy in itself.
I'm just thinking, we've got all these X-rays from way back when, and I've got them on file. They're sitting at home in a box.
Yep.
I'm thinking, why am I holding on to those?
They're all, surely.
It's not like a family photo.
Yeah. That broken leg might be interesting to look at. Here's James when he fell off a motorbike. So nowadays, it's scanned, and literally, I went home. They said, just log on to your portal in imaging and log on
for you.
and have a look. And there it is straight away. Now, at this point in time, I'm still waiting for the report to be done up and information to go through to the doctor to see whether everything looks all right. But I'm too impatient for that. So what did I do? I took the 228 images that they took, so basically slices through your heart. Optical slices, mind you, not physical slices.
So is this MRI or was it?
It's an MRI, slices of your heart MRI to try and look for calcium there.
Yeah, right.
So what I did was I picked up those 228 images, which is like a short little video, and of course I dropped them into an AI tool and said, while I'm waiting for my doctor to actually look at these properly, can you give me analysis of these, please?
AI doctor. Are we doing that? We are doing that, aren't we?
Absolutely, but I must admit it's interesting to have that information before you go to the doctor.
Yeah, guys, still go to see the doctor, right?
See the doctor, that's right. And I'm definitely going to see the doctor. I had to get a referral anyway to go and do this, and I'll go back and get the doctor to give me the final bill of health or whatever the issues might be. But I looked at it and went, no, it looks pretty good to me, because I'm looking for little white spots in my heart, which I couldn't find any. Yep. But I thought...
But the AI doctor came up and was flashing red. It was like, nah.
AI doctor. But this is what worries me a little bit. You know what AI is like. It's so positive. It wouldn't matter what the problem is. Oh, Matthew, you're looking good today.
Especially these calcium deposits look fantastic.
You've got
these are the best.
That's right, the best calcium deposits I've ever seen. So I did feed it in, and I said, don't be flattering to me. Don't be nice to me. Tell me the harsh truth of what this is.
So it went the complete opposite way.
No, it still said everything was fine. But I just wonder how far away we are before we just trust that completely. I'll upload all the images. There you go. Give me the reveal. Everything's fine. Happy days. And then I'll go and have a heart attack next week. So, yeah. But again, I'll still go and see the doctor. But I love the fact that we can get those results so instantly, but also the fact that we can just give it to AI. And then I'm interested to see what the doctor says next. If the doctor says, oh, you need 28,000 treatments, which is only going to cost you $10,000, I go, hold on, AI told me I looked okay. So not that doctors would do that. I'm sure the Hippocratic Oath would mean they're only going to do what they need to do.
What they need to do.
Absolutely
exactly.
Right. That's been my fun adventure this week.
Well, that sounds like a pretty cool adventure.
It does.
All right, well, we better go in search of other adventures with our stories, our lineup for today. Now, we've all been there. It's a common dilemma, ordering pizzas for a group. It's a big one, folks. You've got people who are fundamentally and politically opposed to pineapple and idiots who insist on having anchovies. Blah. People who can't have onion and other people who need barbecue sauce as a blanket rule. Oh, geez. When Lincoln said you can please some of the people some of the time, I'm paraphrasing there, there's a little bit more to that, he was probably musing to the pizza delivery guy at the front door. It is definitely a problem of the ages. Satisfying a group, and people love their pizza. It's just that they love different pizzas. Matt, perhaps in 2026, technology might be able to lift a major social weight here?
I do like the use of that famous political quote for pizzas. Maybe we got it wrong all these years. Maybe it was never a political quote. Maybe it was, damn, I'm ordering pizza. We can please some of the people some of the time.
I couldn't add to it because you can please some of the people some of the time. You can please all the people some of the time, but you can never please all the people all the time.
That's right.
I don't think you can please all the people ever.
No, that's right. And especially when it comes to pizza.
It doesn't matter what you're even talking about.
And I don't know who it was, but I want to find them and hold them responsible for anchovies. I agree with you. Anchovies, what a disgusting topping to
I have
put
members
on.
in the family who insist on it, and I just, you've wrecked a pizza. And your pizza might look fine, but there's a sneaky anchovy hiding in there.
Hidden underneath a bit of cheese, maybe. Yeah, that's right. And you bite into it and you go, who put all that salt in there? So disgusting. In pineapple, I am a big fan. I'm not sure if I'm going to ostracise half of our community here. I love the pineapple.
Yep.
But the pineapple, the thing I like about the pineapple the most is there's just a bit of moisture in the pineapple, and sometimes the crust can be a little bit dry.
Oh, okay.
So it can be a bit hard to chew on that crust. But no, that's good because it just gives you that bit of moisture.
Yeah,
if you haven't quite got enough moisture in
the
there.
crust can act like a sponge and soak up all the moisture in your saliva, and
then you need the pineapple. That's right. So this is an issue, and I'm trying to come up with a reason to have a party now just to use this website. so there's
a party at your house. Cool.
There's a website called pizzavoter.com, as it sounds, the word pizzavoter.com. And there's been some clever mathematics applied to the whole decision-making process. So what you do is having a party, we're having 10 friends around, we're going to watch a game of footy, whatever it might be. You send them the link to your party, which is your unique link for Pizza Voter. And they go there and they say what they like on pizza, what they don't like, what they must have, and what they can't have. With all of that information, it then works out, well, you nominate the number of pizzas you're going to need. It then works out the combinations of pizzas you should order to satisfy the most number of people most of the time. Maybe all of the people all the time, I'm not sure. But it would obviously have, if people said, I must have anchovies, right? If you've got some of those people, we'll eject them from the party. But if they must come, if it's like your wife or something, they must come along.
You have to advertise it as a non-anchovy pizza
party. That's right. That's exactly it. So you put that in there and there will be a pizza with anchovies on it. If someone says, I cannot have anchovies on it, that'd be you and I saying that, then there would be a pizza there without anchovies on it. But basically,
I hate being limited to one pizza.
Well, that's
so I'd
true.
hate to be a vegetarian as well.
Well, that's a problem. Although sometimes the vegetarian ones aren't too bad.
Well, no, the vegetarian ones are always nice, but I like to have more than one selection.
True. So this whole tool applies decision science, some algorithms, some optimization techniques to give you something that should be the best outcome for the pizzas. And I've been at parties like this where someone didn't think about it and gets to the party and says, right, I'm going to order pizza. What do you want? And then, oh, my gosh, the requests that come bunny in and the poor person about to order goes, hold on.
I can't have barbecue sauce because whatever.
And then you're trying to make all the decisions. You're trying to ring the pizza place and you're trying to order. And someone says, no, not that pizza place. You've got to go to the wood-fired pizza place, not the normal crusty cheese pizza place.
I'm going to throw a spanner in the works here. I think you can have too much meat on a pizza as well.
Oh, dear, you think?
Yes.
That would mean you have too much meat. full stop. Surely that's not possible.
There's a happy medium in there.
Probably there is somewhere there. So it sounds like someone with too much time on their hands. Maybe it sounds like someone who's been studying at university and gone, hey, there's some pretty cool little algorithms I've just discovered. How could I apply those? I know, pizza. Whatever way this website was developed, I say go and have a go of it. I would love to hear some feedback from listeners having used this site. And I haven't used it myself yet. I've played around with it, but I haven't actually used it in the real world. But I'd love to see how effective it is and whether it actually solves the perennial problem of what pizzas to get in a pizza party. So I love the concept.
Now, you want to know what real suffering is? Accessorizing. Am I right, girls? You know it, all right? I don't care how much the dress, the hair and the bling cost. If the bag doesn't match, then race day is ruined. You might as well bust a bottle of Prosecco and get comfy on the couch. It's all too hard, girlfriend. A girl needs two things, someone who understands and a clutch that can adapt, Matthew. You understand.
I understand technology. I'm not sure if I'm going to convince my wife on this concept, but it was recently we're in the Maldives on a brief holiday, and we're on this lovely little island, and I didn't notice it, but my wife did, that there was a woman at breakfast who dressed magnificently for breakfast each day.
Right.
And each
That's
day,
important.
it is apparently at breakfast, but each day she had a different handbag. Now, my wife took notice of these handbags worth probably $10,000 each
Why
handbag.
do you need a handbag at breakfast? It's
Well,
the breakfast bag.
It's the breakfast bag. It
So you
wasn't
need
a
a
handbag.
different breakfast bag.
Yes, that's right. So, again, I didn't notice, but my wife said, look at that woman over there. See that? That's the third different handbag the last 3 days, etc. And I went, okay, whatever. Give me some more bacon, please, to put on top of my meat. So, and where's the pizza at breakfast? So I thought that seems a bit excessive. And on the little island, to get to that island, you obviously flew into Marley and then you got on a speedboat across to the island. And she probably had a couple of bags. One of them was
full of
suitcases,
bags.
was probably full of bags. That's right. And I thought that's a fair bit of effort to go to for an island that had, I don't know, 200 guests on there that no one's really taking much notice apparently, but maybe someone was, my wife maybe.
You've got to be careful.
Maybe there's another solution that's better than that, and there is another solution that's better than that, and it's called the Infinity Smart Handbag. So it's still...
Infinity is a big number.
It is, and I'm going to go with it. This one, I'm going to say...
There are infinite combinations. in this, man.
They're not over-promising in this one because what you've got in this is a lovely leather handmade handbag, something that's probably worth the $10,000. Well, maybe not worth. You would pay the $10,000 for just for the handbag normally, but in the front of the handbag is a beautiful, flexible OLED screen that you can put whatever pattern, design, photo that you want in there. So I saw some examples, and for example, there was a woman wearing a tiger patterned dress, and her handbag was a perfect replica of her tiger pattern dress because in the example that I've been shown, she'd taken a photo of her dress and then uploaded that to her handbag.
Clever.
So it matched perfectly. So
Take your choice, though. Tiger print?
well, okay. If you don't like tiger print, I saw another example where it was just a lovely flowing lime green.
Leopard skin.
Well,
Sorry.
I'm sure you could do that as well, but it was a lime green dress and a lime green pattern in there as well.
Awesome.
So
Fantastic.
you could put whatever you want. You could put pictures of your kids if you want to show off your kids on your handbag. You could put pictures of your husband wearing, I don't know, at the gym and showing how big his muscles were so that no one goes along and hassles you. Whatever you decide to put in a handbag.
That's not tacky either. But, yeah, so literally infinite possibilities for your handbag.
If you assume that the number of images that you could possibly have is infinite, then this is an infinity handbag.
It's the bag that does go with everything.
Everything, absolutely.
So
everything.
even if you're really running dry of images and stuff or patterns, you can just take a photo of your dress, get the colour of the dress.
That's it.
Boom, and you've got a matching handbag.
And if you just want to have a leather handbag, you can just have the colour of leather. Whatever colour leather, take a picture of the other side of the handbag, which is just plain leather, and put that on there so it looks like a normal leather handbag, which would seem like a lot of trouble to go to just have a leather handbag.
But it's worth it if you're trying to accessorise.
And you could change it during the night depending on your mood. So if, for example, you
Change
went
your dress in the night, You got to change your dress in the middle of the night?
Well, that's right. But I was
all
more
right.
thinking you have a fight with your partner and then you change the image on there. Now available. Might be flashing up on the side
So
of your
what you're
handbag.
telling me is that I no longer have to pack a whole suitcase just with my handbags in.
Correct. And your wife doesn't have to pack another suitcase for her handbags either. You can have one handbag that does everything. So
Revolutionary.
will this take off? Will people who love the different handbags for every different outfit, will they accept that this is good enough?
Will they start making outfits out of OLED screens?
Yeah, well, there has been a little bit of work done with e-ink where you could actually change the pattern on parts of your dress.
How about that, folks?
So that's pretty cool.
We are living in the future.
We are living in the future, that's right. It's not evenly distributed, but we are living in the future. So check that out, Infinity Smart Handbag. This, I'm going to make a call on here again, 2026 is the year of the new, maybe...
Look.
Category of fashion
Category.
tech.
Yeah.
Fashion tech.
Fashion
I'm gonna
tech.
call it. What do
So
you
we're
reckon?
going to have a weekly story on fashion tech.
Oh, don't put
There's
that
a challenge
pressure on
for
me.
you. Get ready for it, folks. Matt will deliver.
I hope our memories of our listeners are bad, so I don't have to worry about that next week.
Now, in a world where we all have to question everything we see all the time, proving that you are who you are is a growing challenge. AI has its smudgy fingers all over authentications as deepfakes get deeper and deeper and less fakier. So, Matt, as technology makes everything else easier, how are we going to prove ourselves as authentication gets harder and harder?
Well, there's a really fascinating experiment done by a journo. I read the story from beginning to end. I read it again because it was just fascinating. So this journo thought deepfakes are getting pretty bad.
Hang on a second, are you really you? I don't even know that this is
are
Matt
people
Dickinson sitting
listening
across
to?
me.
That's right.
Sorry, it's just that's a curveball there.
Well, that's
we'll sort that
assuming
out later.
That's assuming that people are trusting that there's two people sitting in a room talking to each other here.
And
It
it's
could
not
be-
all AI generated.
That's right. It could well be. So this journo said, "I'm going to see if AI deepfakes are good enough to trick someone who has known me literally all my life." So he said to his auntie, "Can you have a conversation with me via a video call and then a conversation via deepfake? And I'm not going to tell you
Which
whether it's
one's
deepfake
which?
first or it's me first. I'm going to do that, and I want you to tell me which one is the deepfake." And
Well, surely you've got to go into the personal memory bank, haven't you?
the way to do it, if I was having a conversation with one of my kids, I'd ask them about a specific holiday, and if they couldn't remember it, I'd say that's definitely my child because they wouldn't.
They all blend into one. All of those holidays.
If I said, "Remember that holiday in Perth?" they go, "I don't remember that. That's definitely my child there." So so this experiment, he went and did it all, and the auntie said, "I can't tell, and I really don't know. They both look convincing. Like literally since birth, she'd known him and just could not pick the difference between a deep fake and a normal conversation."
goodness me.
So that's fascinating. And there's some different things that happen when you've got experts who, and I'm not talking about Joe Blow seeing a video, I'm saying experts analysing this. They're looking for little inconsistencies where they go, "Oh, that was a human that did that." So, for example, a microphone bump, someone that's using their video and they bump their microphone. Well, AI doesn't do that because AI is not bumping a microphone. So they're
Until
looking,
AI thinks, I've got to start bumping a microphone.
and that's the point. Exactly right. AI says, well, what do we do to make it more realistic? And sometimes when I
We've
see...
got to have imperfections.
Yeah, and I see messages sometimes that have obviously been generated by AI, and I see spelling mistakes in there, and I go, that's where someone has said, if we put a spelling mistake, they won't think it's AI because AI wouldn't make a spelling mistake. So adding some human frailties into the messaging to try and get past that. Now, there's a really fascinating...
But we're still going with six fingers. It's probably AI. Apologies to anyone out there with six fingers.
Well, here's the thing. This is the first time I've seen a world leader have to do this. The Israeli Prime Minister, Benjamin Netanyahu, how'd I go with that one? Netanyahu?
Yeah,
That's
well
a
done.
tricky one.
Yep.
He had to publicly prove that he was alive because there was some AI rumours going around. And what happened was there was an image that was seen of him. And when you look at it, first glance, it looked like he's got six fingers. It's a real photo of the Prime Minister.
But
just
it was
the way,
real.
It was, but just it's a really weird one. When you first glance at six fingers, when you look at it again, you can see the way he's just got one finger folded under. It just looks like, oh, that's a bit weird, that photo. 10 years ago, you think it was a funny photo. Now it's obviously AI. So he had to come out and say, here I am, I'm real. Here's a newspaper from today. Just try and convince people that he was real. And I'm thinking, I don't know I've ever seen a world leader before have to come out and prove
that he's alive.
He's alive. I'm alive. Here I am.
So we live in interesting times.
And it was a bit harder for him to say something that was personal that only he would know, because obviously if an AI knew something personal about the Prime Minister, then everyone would know it. The only way he could say something personal would be something that people didn't know, but how would we know if it was real? So it's a complicated situation. And so you get some of these things that happen where you get, this whole concept where we're trying to convince people that this is real with deep fakes. But we've now got this concept, when I say now, it was coined 8 years ago, first of all. It's a concept called liar's dividend. And I've never heard this concept before. I went and did a bit more research on it, and it's fascinating. So it was coined back in 2018 by a couple of legal scholars, Robert Chesney and Danielle Citron. And they were studying the whole rise of deepfake. So back in 2018, they were well ahead of their time in terms of studying that. And they said that as fake videos improved, remember in 2018 they weren't great, but they were saying in the future, people would start denying the real videos. Yeah. So think of this concept. So as fake videos and voices become more realistic, then we start to get a bit more skeptical about what we see and hear. So we might try and spot fakes with that, but also if you're someone who happily lies about things, if you are caught out, then you just simply say, oh, that's fake. That's deepfake. That's an AI-generated video. I didn't really do that. All that video evidence you're seeing out there is not me.
It's the reverse flip, backflip with a twist argument.
Absolutely right. So, and I've already seen an example of this involving our favourite friend across the world. So there was a video at the White House recently where someone was throwing a bag and some materials out of a White House window. You wouldn't think that would be the nicest thing for people to do, to just throw stuff out the window. And so some observant person, journo presumably, asked the White House spokesperson about this. And they said they're doing some work at the moment, some contractors doing some work, they're throwing out the window and then they're going downstairs to collect all the rubbish they'd collected. So probably not a great look, but anyway, that was it. But Donald Trump hadn't heard the real explanation, so he was asked out about it, and he said, oh, that's AI generated, that's a fake. Yeah. If anything bad happens, then obviously it's just AI. And so already
things only happen when it's AI.
That's right. He's using AI as the denial tool, even though it was actually
as the
real.
Default.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
So it's even, look, I think we'll see more and more examples of this type of thing where it's going to be excuse. So whatever happens now, you get caught for speeding, oh, that was AI, officer. Like that video there, that's obviously AI. Whatever you get, whatever happens is bad, that video is obviously going to be blamed on AI.
Look, just recently we've had the launch of the Artemis 2, and this was like carrying humans on it. They're headed for the moon. Sorry, by the time you're listening to this, I've certainly been around the moon and come back again. But we've still got flat earthers denying that it's... And there's so many people watching it from so many angles. They're going, here, surely. I mean, you can be watching this. You can be doing this yourself and tracking yourself.
Yep.
Surely you've got to go with it now, the world as a globe.
No,
and they're still they're doubling down.
I saw this great video.
About belief is more, but the question is, what we were saying out of this story is we don't know what to believe anymore.
That's right. And I saw this great video of a journo standing there across the water from where the launch pad was, launch pad 39, I think it was, the rocket took off from. And he's sitting there doing the interview to camera, live presumably, and he's saying, I could just feel it rumbling through my chest. Now, we have no proof of that rumbling through our chest because he was talking about it. And then there was noises in the background and a bit of and you started to lose his voice. Well, that's pretty easy for AI to generate a bit of background noise and lose your voice. So that video looked compelling because this journal was talking about just how his chest felt under the noise in the background, all this power and the thrust that was there. But that could have all been generated by AI. So what do you believe anymore?
I hate this. I hate it.
James won't be with us anymore, folks.
Yeah, I just want to just curl up under Maduna and just pretend that we're back in 1980. Anyway, let's move on.
Look, it is fascinating, but I don't have a good answer for you. I did an anti-scam talk the other day, and someone was talking about the deep fakes they might be tricked with. They said, how do you spot them? And I went, I don't know. I don't honestly have a good answer about how to spot a deepfake.
So authenticating ourselves, which is what the story was about, and I was asking you how we're going to do it. Your answer is, I don't know.
Correct. Well, if it's family, if it's something personal, I do know, and that is have code. And we've got, with our kids, we've got certain code words that we use if we want to prove that it's us. So when we get the hey mum scam and someone says, hey, are you okay? I've got a message from you there. Oh, don't give it away to everyone, James. But yeah, we've got some code words in the family to prove we are. But I'm not going to go on a public video and say, my code word is bananas. So anyone, if it's me really, I'll say bananas, because then anyone can create a deepfake video using the word bananas. So how you prove it on a public video, my answer at the moment is I don't know.
You've got to have something personal going on with the rest. If you're a leader like Benjamin Netanyahu, you've got to have a personal code word that only the rest of the people in your
only
nation
humans know that aren't going to create deepfakes, right? That should be pretty easy to do. It's complicated, isn't it?
Now, you may have seen on your news feed recently just exactly what happens when delivery robots go wayward. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, the end of days has been signalled, the signs are here, and you turn your back at your own peril. A group of drones have glitched in a very public way at the cost of some minor infrastructure. And Matt, I'm off to build another room into my bunker.
They go another level deeper now. And this is obviously the people on Pizza Voter ordering pizzas because Serve Robotics and Coco Robotics are doing pizza deliveries through the streets of Chicago, which is fantastic. Now, we've done the story previously about Pokemon Go being used to try and stop this problem that we're seeing here. When you look at something that's going autonomously around and delivering pizzas, for example, it will use GPS data, it will use aerial imagery from satellites, for example, to try and navigate its way around things. But that means little pieces of infrastructure, like, say, bus shelters, that might be at ground level, that might be a bit inconvenient for a pizza delivery autonomous vehicle, but not seen from above, are going to be a bit of a problem. Pokemon Go was meant to solve some of those problems because we had billions of photos taken at ground level. And so one of these particular companies has started using Pokemon Go to use what they call VPS, which is Visual Positioning System, as opposed to GPS. And it started using VPS, and then shortly afterwards, it ran into a bus shelter and shattered the glass. Now, you would think that's a bad sign, given the fact that you're using the Pokemon Go data.
Yeah, not supposed to shatter glass.
No, that's right. So the company said it wasn't the Pokemon Go data that was the issue here. It was some of the glitch that occurred, which is maybe good, bad, or indifferent. I actually thought it might have been a new bus shelter. I thought maybe using its Pokemon Go data that might have been taken 5 years ago, it's coming along and
just
it knows,
wasn't looking where it was going.
Well, it knows it's clear because I've got the Pokemon Go data loaded up and happily goes along 8 kilometres an hour, trundling along, and then runs into a glass shelter because it was built 3 years ago, for example. They didn't say that. That would have been a great explanation, but that wasn't the explanation. They just said, whoops, sorry, we'll get it sorted out. The companies, one company in particular said they've done 1.6 million kilometres so far of deliveries, and the only problem they've had is one collision with a bus shelter. I would say the only problem that we've heard about they've had is one
that
collision.
They're prepared to reveal. That's right. Is the one that was impossible to hide.
The one that everyone saw and went, hold on.
Was it an AI fake?
Maybe. Well, why didn't they use that excuse? It was a fake. It was a fake. So that's been one. But it's going to happen. This is the world we're living in now. You will get, without a doubt, autonomous delivery vehicles out there. It's happening now, but it will happen on a much wider context. And I think of one of my children, and when they listen to this, the one will know exactly which one it is. She lives, it would be 50 metres from a supermarket, a major supermarket. She still orders home delivery of stuff. and she said...
Can you imagine the person's loading up their car? They're then getting in the car, turning on the ignition and driving around. I'm assuming they're not driving electric, but anyway, and driving around to the house 50 metres away.
That's the thing.
Going, they want to what?
That's right. And
it's one bag of groceries.
Not probably one item, probably. My cornflakes, I just needed some cornflakes. But this the modern world that our children are growing up in is they're just expecting to be able to order something, and literally within hours, and she lives in a major city, within hours that will be there. And I've seen it. You know, she said to me one night, I'm ordering this thing about 11 o'clock at night. I said, why don't you just go across the morning? You know, it'll be here. And 5 o'clock the next morning, it gets delivered to her. I've just gone, this is the world we live in. So we need well, the companies that do that need to have more efficient ways to do deliveries, because when they're paying humans to do it, it gets a bit expensive to deliver a packet of cornflakes across the road. So you'll have autonomous vehicles, without a doubt, that will be delivering stuff all over our streets.
I've got to say it, Matt, you can't walk the 50 metres to the supermarket to go and get that cornflakes. Have you seen that scene in Wall-E, that movie, where they're all sort of lounging around on couches and they're all well overweight? We are there.
We're there. And what always makes me laugh is my children do a reasonable amount of work in staying fit. So that same daughter will be happy to go to the gym a kilometre away and spend an hour in the gym working out.
Yeah.
But 50 metres across the road, I'm not doing that.
It's too inconvenient. I haven't got time for that.
Yeah,
Sorry.
No, look, this is the world. And I hope my daughter listens to this episode so she can see that you're frowning down upon her right now. That's right. Contempt. There's total contempt.
My apologies.
No, don't apologise. I want to encourage you.
You need me to double down?
Yeah.
Get out and do your shopping.
That's right. Thank you. She won't listen to me, so she might listen to someone else. So, in essence, we're going to see more and more of this. We're going to see some things happen along the way. Broken bus shelters, that's not the end of the world, because that company will then go and repair that and fix it. But as long as they don't involve people in the early days, or any days involve getting in row of people. But this is the harsh reality. This is the modern world we're living in.
Yes. Now, for a while there, vaping appeared to be the healthier alternative to cigarette addiction. A higher tech version of a millennia-old troublesome habit, supposedly without the noxious lung infestations. But on closer inspection, it turned out that it was really just a different version of the same old filth, but just delivered electronically. Now, the law says that if an adult wants to harm themselves in this particular way, then they should be at liberty to do so. But a big part of the issue has been in protecting kids before they get hooked. And that's where electronic vapes have an advantage over cigarettes, Matt.
Yeah, and it's interesting, the US FDA, Food and Drug Administration, kind of banned, it's a long, complicated story, but for the sake of this discussion, effectively banned flavoured vapes. So they were pretty easy for kids to get hooked on, because it was just like a bit of chewing gum, just like a lolly.
Yeah, any name of flavour of lolly that you like.
Yeah, and I did speak to a teacher at a school one day, and they said the only advantage of flavoured vapes is that the male toilets now smell a bit better.
Yeah.
So they said back in about 2020, they said we're just going to ban them because obviously this is a problem. Now, adults who were using flavoured vapes thought, well, that's a bit of a pain for me because I really like flavoured vapes, but sorry, they're now banned. So that's been the case for the last 6 years. But now there's a couple of companies that have gotten together to say, we think we've got a method around this to allow children to be protected and not be exposed to these harmful substances. But as you said, adults can make their own choices. Even if there are silly choices, they can make their own choices, and they might want flavoured vapes. So there's some vapes that are being produced, and it's not been passed by the FDA yet, but the vapes essentially have a Bluetooth connection to your phone. On your phone, you have an app, and on that app, you do a video of you talking so that it can have some sort of recognition there's a human behind this. It captures your face, tries to do some age verification. Then you also upload your ID to say, here's me on the ID, here's me talking, so I'm trying to connect the dots here, and there's my date of birth on my ID so I can prove that I'm old enough to be able to have flavoured vapes. If that all passes okay, then the Bluetooth connection to your vape allows you to then use that vape while it's in Bluetooth range of your phone. So you don't want a wider range than that. You don't want to have some fancy connection because Bluetooth is fairly short range. So essentially, you got your phone in your pocket, you pull out your vape, you can use it, connects to your phone in your pocket, you can use it. You leave it on the kitchen bench and you go to work with your phone. Your child comes home, oh, cool, Dad left the vape here, picks it up, won't work because it's not within range of a Bluetooth connection. Now, it doesn't stop parents being incredibly irresponsible and saying, here you go, son, just have a bit of a go of a flavoured vape and I'll be nearby with my phone to let you have a go. The same way some people say, have a little bit of a go of a beer and next thing you know, they find their child on the ground after 10 beers. So that same sort of concept could happen, but it's a way to try and let people use vapes as an adult without letting kids just go cray-cray with the vape. So seems reasonable. I'm with you. I'd prefer they just said, why are we allowing this
Probably
at
don't
all?
need it.
Yeah, we probably don't need it. Probably don't need vape. Probably don't need smokes. And even though adults can make their own silly choices, what annoys me is that there's a huge cost to the public health system for people making their adult choices saying, I'm an adult, I've got my rights. Yeah, but that lung cancer you've got that needs to be operated on costs the government hundreds of thousands of dollars, which you didn't really pay for. Another argument, another discussion a whole other way. But I do find it fascinating that we're putting some time, energy and technology into creating vapes that adults can use and still protect the kids.
So AI data centres have been elbowing their way into the public consciousness lately in a big way. They're enormously energy hungry and each one generates a humongous plume of heat. And that heat release is significant enough that it needs to be managed with a bit of care. Cooling technology used to be part of a mechanical and chemical engineer's lot. It rapidly becoming its own branch of environmental engineering these days. Matt, data centres are here and they're expanding rapidly. How do we stop the problem from becoming a hot mess?
I don't know the answer to that one either. I've got no answers today. I've got no answers
you've only got
at all.
problems.
I've only got problems, that's right. And some of them are big problems. This is a big problem. Global electricity use is what we normally think of with data centres. We need to create more power. We know that Microsoft, for example, is basically revoking or starting up a whole nuclear power plant on Long Island just to power some of their data centres. They wanted something better than burning lots of coal. We need lots of renewable energy. So we often hear the discussions around the amount of electricity that these data centres are using, which is mainly around AI. But we don't often hear about the heat they're creating and what we might try and do or how we might try and use that heat, or whether we just accept that this is a problem that we're having.
But have I seen somewhere that they were actually building them on a river somewhere just to get that flowing water and large volumes of flowing water past?
So and this is part of the problem. They're trying different solutions. I mean, building them in.
It's one thing to pump water through, but to have it built on a river.
Yeah, well, to let that water flow through it. So this is what we do as humans. We try and come up with different solutions to these problems. The global capacity for data centres is expected to double from 2025 to 2030. There's already a lot of data centres out there. I can't name the number, but a lot. There's a big number out there of data centres, and that's expected to double. Now, people are probably familiar with the data centres. They've driven past one, they've seen one. I know I've been into some in the past, and they're very cool to go into, but thinking of all the ones that I've seen out and about, and I think doubling that's a lot in the next 4 years. So that's quite incredible. So that's an issue. And now when we start to look at the heat they're generating, so they've looked at 20 years of satellite temperature data, and they've looked at that where data centres didn't exist, and now data centres do exist, and they've looked at the heat signatures around there. So to give you an idea of some of the temperature rises, the surface temperature in the soil itself has risen by about 2 degrees Celsius in the area surrounding a data centre. Temperatures directly above the data centre have increased by up to 9 degrees Celsius, and the heat effect extends up to 10 kilometres away from the data centre.
Wow.
Now, we know about some of these effects when we build buildings, large buildings, we build cities. We know about the heat impact of large cities and not having a heat canopy to try and protect some of that. You take away lots of trees, put lots of buildings there that generate their own heat. And part of the question here is it the data centre generating heat? Yes, it is. Is it a building taking away trees that's actually generating heat by the absorption of that heat? Yes, it is. How much of one or the other? We're not sure. Need more research on that. And then what is the solution? So there's a couple of solutions that they're talking about with this. One is, how can we use that heat in other ways? So, for example, do you build the data centres in colder climates and then have a way of taking that heat out to basically to the rest of the people that live nearby? So you've got a heating facility that's generating lots of heat. Well, pipe that heat into my home, and then I don't have to use electricity to heat my home.
The biggest problem when the heat is just wasted.
Yeah, that's
if
right.
you can put it to a purpose.
And there's a lot of cooling being done in the data centre, which is generating heat, and the data centre itself is generating heat. So that's one solution they're looking at is, do we build them in places that are cold, try and reuse that heat somehow, some way, or are there other clever ways we can use this? So, for example, as you said, building them on a river, other ways we can cool this data centre.
One problem with building it on an existing waterway is that it creates thermal pollution, which can be a problem for anything living in or around that area.
And fish in particular often have a very small window of temperatures that they can exist and breed in. So if you change that, that can affect the whole fish population.
It doesn't have to be nearby the data centre, it just needs to be downstream somewhere. So, yeah, that's a big problem. But I like the idea of cold climates. The only problem is that, building them in those cold climates, you've still got to get the infrastructure out there and back.
You've got to get the infrastructure, and you've still got to get the data centres. The closer you are to where the data centres are, then the better the performance is. So if someone says, I can build that in the Antarctic for you, you go, well, my latency is going to be a bit higher than that. I'd rather go with the data centre around the corner. Thanks very much. Yeah. So that's a bit of an issue. But this is a problem for us to solve. As we all get hungrier and hungrier for AI, this is a problem we want to solve. And it comes back to that point we've made before, where some of the companies that create AI say, don't put the word please in when you ask a question. Don't put spelling mistakes in. Check that spelling before you submit that question because
it's thinking too hard.
All those things create a little bit of extra work. And you think, who cares if I write the word please, because that's not going to make any difference. But when you multiply that by literally millions of queries a second, that's more work, and that all generates more heat, more electricity, more heat.
And I reckon we'll stop saying please and thank you to each other.
That is the problem. and I'm guilty. I still say please, and I still say thanks for that.
I know.
Well done, that sort of thing. And I just
we boomers.
But I do worry that if I stop doing that, I will start being like I walk into a shop and say, "Give me a coffee."
Yep.
In as few words as possible,
Yep.
I'll say what I need to say.
Whatever becomes normal.
Yeah, that's exactly right. So I'm going to stick with please and thank you, and I apologise for the extra bit of electricity that I'm using.
Now, anyone who has experience in flying drones for photography and video may attest that missing the best shot is a major concern. It takes quite a bit of skill and perception, even with the technology reaching its lofty heights that it has. So any extra advantage, say where a camera captures everything, and I mean everything, is a welcome bonus. Matt, this drone camera does it all and in HD.
Better than HD. It does it all in 8K. It's incredible. So one of the things that I find tricky, this is where I need my 6 fingers. I need my photographs of 6 fingers because when I've been drone flying and videoing, I can move the video to get the shot I want and I can fly the drone to get it where I want it to be. But when you say fly the drone and move the camera at the same time, and I saw a bit of MotoGP recently where bikes were coming along the main straight doing 300 odd kilometres an hour, and the drone was flying along and changing its camera as it flew. I went,
it's a two-person job.
Maybe it was. I was actually giving someone incredible credit. Wow, that's a good drone operator. But maybe right. Maybe one person on the camera, one person on the drone. It makes me feel better. Thank you very much. So it's not just my lack of skill.
They can afford 2 people to fly that drone.
Yeah, you're spot on. So the alternative to all of that, there's a new drone out from DJI called the Avata 360, and the 360 is a bit of a giveaway here. It videos 360 degrees. It videos a sphere as you go along. So it's in 8K. It's in 60 frames per second. And so I think about that for a start. The camera they've got on there, we would not have been able to have on a drone maybe a year ago, maybe even 6 months ago, just for the processing power you need to be able to take 60 frames per second, 8K and 360 degrees. So my little problem that I have, first world problem, where I'm flying and trying to video at the same time and I didn't quite get the exact shot I wanted, I can forget about that problem now because a drone like this means I just fly the drone where I want it to be. And meanwhile, there is a 360 degree shot of whatever I'm flying around. And then later on, I drop that into my editing package and I go, oh, there's the angle I want there, and I change that angle over there. So I'm doing all of that post-flying, post-videoing, because I've captured everything.
See, my thing is that when you're focused and you're trying to get a shot, you're focused on just that spot. But there could be other awesome stuff happening in the periphery that you didn't pick up on. Well, this gives you a chance to have 3 or 4 looks at it.
Correct.
And get everything.
So one of the things I've done a bit of drone work with is mountain biking. So you go out mountain biking, you put follow me on and away you go, and the drone follows you along while you're going over jumps and all sorts of things. But I'm usually out there doing that with a few friends, and I get really annoyed when one of them doesn't tell me they're going to fall off, and they fall off behind the drone. Can you do that again?
And you can see all the blood dripping out of their legs and stuff.
Late,
and you go, no. You clean yourself up, go back to the top of the hill and start again.
That's right, because I need to capture it. Let me get the drone in the right place. So this, though, I could be out there with mountain biking, I can be riding along, the drone's capturing me, but it's capturing everything. So if anyone falls off, then it's captured. Magpie attacks as well. I love going for a ride during magpie season with the kids. Let the kids go in their brightly coloured helmet in front of me, and the magpie come along. I normally got a little video on my bike that'll capture a bit of that. But imagine just
a good
drone.
microphone to catch your giggles.
Well, it's usually capturing the screams from them and the slight muffled laughter from me. But the actual, apologies to anyone out there that's had a good magpie attack, but the drone, I thought of that. The two things I thought of were friends falling off mountain bikes and magpie attacks. When I saw this, I thought, they're the two great things I could use it for. Maybe that gives you an indication into my psyche. I'm not sure. But everything.
Anyone wondering what to get Matt for Christmas?
That's right. I won't wait for Christmas. It'll be too far away. To give you some other specs on the drone, it's got some pretty good specs on it. One thing I thought was good was that most of the time you buy drones now, they just have a internal micro SD slot so that you don't have any internal memory. You basically plug in a micro SD card, which makes sense because you just want to put a big card on 256 gig or whatever. This has actually got 42 gigs of internal storage, which is impressive. And I suppose they figured you needed that plus your 256 gig SD card, micro SD card, because you're just going to use up so much data with a 360-degree 8K video. That's going to chew up a huge amount of data. About 23 minutes flight time on one battery. And I actually wasn't too blown away by the price. As I was reading this story and getting the data, I thought this is going to scare the pants off me about how much I'm going to have to pay. It's going to be more than petrol. But it was only $800 for the base kit, and then you get some accessories to add onto it, etc. You can pay about $1,600. Now, for a drone, that's not too bad. For a drone that's got some pretty impressive capabilities, top speed of about 64 kilometres an hour. So it'll even do a live feed, a HD live feed from about 20 kilometres away. So you shouldn't be flying at 20 kilometres away because you've got to see, unless you're licensed, you've got to see the drone. And I don't think I could see a drone from 20 kilometres away, but that's pretty impressive.
Telescope.
Yeah, that's right. That'd be pretty impressive from 20 kilometres away to be able to have that live feed coming through. So overall, pretty cool, but I just love that idea of just everything being captured.
They say that in art, reproducing the hands on paper or canvas is the hardest thing to get right. You get the hands right and everything else is forgiven. Well, you might say that the same applies in robotics. Teaching a machine how to make the power grip is one thing, and they're generally pretty good at that. But the precision grip as well is a whole other thing. You get that wrong and you're cleaning up broken eggs all the way into next week. Get it right and you'll be mending butterfly wings with spider silk. Matt, what's happening at the top of the robotic hand control these days?
We do need to get this right because we know this year is about me having a robot in my home. So we need to get the robots right because I want them.
You don't want those broken eggs.
No, because I want them to be able to pick up the egg out of the fridge and break the egg into the saucepan. So that sounds pretty tricky.
There's a bit of precision and a bit of power.
Yeah, exactly right. And knowing just how hard to crack that egg, that's always a challenge, even for a human. So getting that right is important. We know that robots are great with a structured task, with a repetitive task, and that just needs put a weld there, that's it, keep doing that over and over. But we know, we've talked about it before, getting them to do something in variable is tricky. Human hands, pretty clever, 22 degrees of freedom, so we can move them.
I did not know that.
Yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot of variability we've got in our hands, and I'm moving my hands around as I'm doing that, which you can't see. But
it looks great, folks. That's right. Can I just share that with you?
So I'm showing off all 22 degrees of freedom. But when we look at how we make a robot replicate that, it's quite difficult. What they've done now is they've got humans wearing an ultrasound device on our wrist, and the ligaments that are moving in our arm are like puppet strings, apparently, according to the researchers. Yeah. So as we move our hands in different ways, we're seeing movement in our wrist, have some ultrasound on that. And isn't it incredible that we can have an ultrasound patch?
Yeah.
Used to be a machine that went bing. Now we've got this ultrasound patch.
Most expensive machine in the whole hospital.
That's the one.
Yeah, but you can actually feel it. If you grab your wrist right now and you squeeze tightly with your thumb across your the inside of your wrist there, you can actually, as you move your fingers, you can feel those tendons pulling. And the muscles for your fingers are actually in your forearm.
So it's quite incredible when you kind of do that, and hopefully everyone out there now is gripping their wrist and moving their fingers.
Do it.
And so with that, they've now got a robot hand that's learning from a human with an ultrasound device sitting on their wrist. As they move their hand around, the robot hand's moving.
Cool.
So far, they've been able to do things like grab objects gently, make gestures, hopefully not rude ones, and even play some notes on the piano. Not play a symphony, but just play a few basic notes on the piano. Someone can distinguish all 26 letters of the American Sign Language, so that's pretty impressive.
Yeah.
So overall, we're getting to the stage where if the robot can copy that off a human, then the robot can eventually say, well, I don't need those ultrasound devices. I've learned how to do different things. So how to crack an egg, a human does it 10 times. The robot says, you know what, I've got this one covered now. I'll do it myself. Thanks very much. So we're getting closer, James. We're getting closer, just one finger at a time. It is.
AI voices are becoming all too familiar these days. Siri, Alexa, and that new girl from Grok, and many others. Have you ever felt that they're getting a little too familiar, though? A little flirtatious today, maybe a little back-chatty tomorrow, perhaps? No, just me, perhaps. Well, it may not be. It may not just be soon, but it's now Alexa is getting further and further AI upgrades. Matt, I'm not entirely sure what this means. Just what sort of zhuzhing is Alexa in for, and why?
Well, it's interesting because I'm sure people out there now with their phones and their devices are all going crazy at the moment because you've said some of those magic words that trigger things to happen. So Alexa goes...
Alexa, shut up.
Stop what you're doing. Alexa goes back to, well, over a decade, but it hasn't really had many upgrades since 2016. And 10 years ago, we thought it was pretty cool. And we said, Alexa, what's the atomic weight of gold? And, of course, it would come up with 196.97 grams per mole. We go, wow, that's
Thanks,
impressive.
Alexa. You're really clever.
And then we'd say, my favourite was, tell me a joke. And, of course, they were always dad jokes. So a couple of my favourites were, did you hear about the scarecrow that won an award because he was outstanding in his field?
Ah, wonderful. Yes. And, of course, dad jokes only make the teller laugh, don't they?
As evidenced just then. Well, I thought another one for you, which was another one of my favourites from Alexa, was Alexa told me that scientists don't trust atoms because they make up everything. So that's not quite true now because, of course, we've got dark matter and light and energy and stuff, but it kind of, at the basic level, is close enough. So let's not get too technical about some basic jokes. But there's not much been different from Alexa for the last 10 years. And in the meantime, we've got ChatGPT, we've got Claude, we've got Microsoft Copilot, we've got Gemini. We've got these AI tools that have all come on the scene. And meanwhile, Alexa's still giving us bad dad jokes and telling us the atomic weight of gold. There's not much that's actually changed there.
Can do better.
We've got Alexa Plus, which is plus Alexa. It's an AI-powered upgrade.
So it must be better if it's got plus.
Obviously. What's after that? Plus, I'm not sure. But we've got that rolled out in the UK at the moment. Presumably it will roll out across the rest of the world. But really what they're trying to do is to say, all these other companies have gone past us. We better try and catch up. So basically it's adding AI at a much cleverer level to good old-fashioned Alexa, which was a bit of a trailblazer at the time, but hasn't really gone much further. The idea is let's get Alexa involved in our life. Let's get Alexa to the point where it can book things in our calendar. It can give us more detailed information, can answer the big questions about what is the meaning of life, all sorts of wonderful things. So that's where we're going with Alexa. Part of the problem, which I'm not crying too much for, but Amazon's Echo division, so building their Echo devices, has lost a couple of $2 billion so far in their development because all they've made any money on is their hardware sales, but there's no ongoing revenue after that, whereas every other AI company is losing billions of dollars, but they've got a revenue model at some point down the track where they'll charge you for that, whereas Alexa hasn't really had that ongoing revenue model. So they're all struggling to work out, well, this is all cool, but how do we make money out of this? And someone will win the game and someone will make money out of it and everyone else will collapse in a heap of investors crying over their lost money. But it's interesting to see that there's a few out there now. So when we add some of those together, there's probably 5 or 6 major AI competitors, and I guarantee the market's not big enough, even though it's a worldwide market, the market's not big enough for 5 or 6 AI tools. So there are going to be some winners and losers in that, and I don't know which ones are going to be winners and losers, but there will be some winners and losers.
Definitely. And that's all there is today, folks. There's a guy standing on the shore waving furiously at us. We've got to bring this paddle boat in. Our time is officially up. Thanks for a cracking tech talk, Matt.
So when have you got time for a pizza party? I've got to have a pizza party. I've got to work out when.
What are we doing this Arvo?
Yeah, that's right. I need enough time for people to vote first before I order.
Sorry,
tomorrow, Arvo.
All right, you got it. And thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for finding us once again among the jungle of podcasts that exist on the net these days. Tech Talk is the podcast that blooms each week to give you that extra something special in your lunchtime conversations and around the water cooler or at the photocopier. I'm James Eddy, wishing you all the best for another week. We look forward to catching you again next week with another special delivery of the latest and greatest news from the world of technology and science. We hope that you can join us and maybe bring along a friend as well. In the meantime, take care, and we'll see you when we see you.